future.
Yes, absolutely.
I now recognize Representative Brad Sherman from California for 5 minutes.
Secretary Blinken, thank you for reminding us that Americans were not required to register if they were in Afghanistan, and I hope my colleagues will support my legislation to require Americans to register if they go to a war zone. The ranking member says that he never thought he'd see an unconditional surrender of the United States to the Taliban. He saw it in 2020 when President Donald Trump announced that we'd be out by May 1st of 2021, forced the release of 5,000 of the Taliban's best fighters, and most importantly, created a circumstance where there was not even a credible possibility that we would engage in force to support the Afghan government. There are those who say we should get out all of our Afghan allies and all those who face oppression or death from the Taliban. I would point out that the Afghan army, together with all of its veterans over 20 years, together with all their families, you're talking about millions of people. And while the Taliban may be harsh to the girls who are music students who are orphans, imagine how harsh they'll be to a girl whose father was in the Afghan army trying to kill the Taliban. When the administration took over, the American people made it clear we had to get out in 2021. The Afghan government, some thought, had some chance to fight to a stalemate. But by spring, those closest to us, those most in the know, were demanding visas to get out, to flee as quickly as possible. They weren't asking for guns to build trenches around Kabul to fight the Taliban. They were asking for visas. They were demanding visas. They were making videos about how they were going to be killed. When they started to flee, that started a stampede, and there is simply no way the administration could have an orderly or successful stampede. And it seems absurd, at least in retrospect, to think that the average Afghan grunt would fight in the trenches while seeing those who were best connected desperate to flee in a matter of days. Secretary Blinken, when you came into office on January 20th, we were committed to pulling everyone out of Afghanistan within 3 months, by May 1st. Did the Trump administration leave on your desk a pile of notebooks as to exactly how to carry out that plan? Did we have a list of which Afghans we were going to evacuate? Did we have a plan to get Americans from all over Afghanistan to Kabul and out in an orderly way? How meticulous was the planning for the Trump administration declared May 1st withdrawal?
Thank you, Congressman. We inherited a deadline. We did not inherit a plan.
So no plan at all. It's amazing that it wasn't much worse. It was controversial when we gave up 5 Taliban for Bergdahl, not the most meritorious of American fighting men. But the Trump administration gave 5,000 of the Taliban's top fighters back to the Taliban. What did we get for that, other than empty promises that were broken?
Congressman, the deal that the previous administration struck involved, as you rightly said, committing to remove all U.S. forces from Afghanistan by May 1st of this year. And in addition, as that deal was being negotiated and then put into effect, pressing the Afghan government to release these 5,000 prisoners, many of whom went back to the battlefield. And at the same time, in return, getting from the Taliban a few commitments. One, not to attack our forces or allied and partner forces during the time of the agreement, from the time it was reached until May 1st, when we were supposed to pull out all of our forces, as well as not to go at the major cities, and to take steps to ensure that Afghanistan would not be used by Al-Qaeda or any other terrorist group.
So, Secretary, I've got one more question. You're criticized for not getting our weapons out. Our weapons were given to the Afghan military. They were all over the country. Was there a way to disarm the Afghan government without being seen by the world as betraying the Afghan government? And was there a way without casualties to go all over Afghanistan and grab the trucks and the tanks, etc.
Simply put, no. Of course, a lot of excess equipment was handed over to the Afghan security and defense forces, partners that we had worked with for 20 years, supported, financed, and equipped for 20 years to take on some of that equipment. And of course, when those forces collapsed in the space of about 11 days, some of that equipment wound up in the hands of the successor forces, the Taliban. Our folks worked very hard to disable or dismantle equipment that we still controlled before we left Afghanistan. And what we see now is much of the equipment that was left behind, including in the hands of the Afghan forces that then fell to the Taliban, much of it, based on what I understand from my colleagues at DOD, is inoperable or soon will become inoperable because it has to be maintained. It's not of any great strategic value in terms of threatening us or threatening any of Afghanistan's neighbors, but it does give the Taliban, as we've seen in pictures, all of us, uniforms and guns and some other equipment that is now in their hands.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now